Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to the Word According to Me. It's a very special simulcast podcast as we are talking about some breaking news that happened just yesterday. Joe Biden, 46th President of the United States, has dropped out of the race after winning the nomination this past, this past spring and summer. This past spring and summer, but has dropped out of the race and has endorsed Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. There is a lot of things you can talk about here, and it's just like it's immensely right. It's just immensely what you're gonna talk about here. You could talk about you can talk about doing this early, so I apologize if I if whatever. But you could talk about like how how late in the game this has been. This apparently there was going back and forth from CNN to MSNBC yesterday, and they kept talking about how like this was the last time since '68, and when Lyndon B. Johnson took out stopped, and he backed out of the Democratic Party, and it was an open convention and everything like that, and it was from Chicago, and then the Democratic nomination, the Democratic convention is going to be here in Chicago this year, and there's like so many, things to link history to what happened in '68 to now what happened in what's happening now and happened yesterday, and so many things are just really historically crazy about what happened. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's go ahead and let's read what Joe Biden put on Twitter yesterday. Let's see. This is what Joe put out on Twitter yesterday. President Biden has COVID, so he cannot. Cannot do anything. He cannot, so he cannot put out come out on television and talk about anything like that. He's been like in his home in Delaware, uh, clustered in so that nobody else gets COVID or anything like that. So it is very interesting. This is what he put out. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed most significant climate change legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a century pandemic, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all of those who have worked so hard to see me re-elected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all of this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today, but I've always have, there's nothing America can do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. So he put that out on Twitter, 12:46 p.m. Central Time. And then he came back a little bit later and said, "My fellow Democrats, I decided not to accept the nomination and to focus on all my energies and duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it has been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala Harris to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this." So that was on his Twitter account yesterday, for him to the Twitter account. And it was a shocking month. He had been so forceful about he was the one that was gonna beat Trump, and there's been so much stuff, ever since the disaster of a debate a few weeks ago. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. You could not say it was anything else. We had one guy, Trump, who every time he opened his mouth, he lied. And if you, if you think I'm lying, check the PolitiFact Twitter account and go back 4 weeks to the thing, and it's almost everything Trump said was a lie, an absolute falsehood. It was a lie. They fact checked it. It was false. That's all he does is lie. And it was totally just ridiculous. Then on the other hand, we had Joe Biden, who couldn't get the words out to lie. And there's that one clip that was absolutely, ridiculous, where Joe Biden took about 10-15 seconds to try to regain a thought. To talk about, they were talking about something, and he was talking, and mid as soon as he just stopped and looked. Almost, he had a look on his face, almost to say, "Help me, help me." What are we talking about? And then when you started back up, they stopped him because his time was up, and it was, and then the ridiculous back and forth about their fucking golf game. Oh God. I think that's what that's what really a lot of people said. Jesus Christ, we got these two as our nominees. We really got these two, and a lot of people were upset, and they made silent things, and they looked and they said, "Wow, really?" And if you really looked around, I mean, Democrats were trying to convince themselves. That night they went on CNN and MSNBC and maybe even Fox News, and they were trying to solely defend what Joe Biden was doing, and they were talking about like the message is what talking about, not how the message was delivered. Well, no, sometimes how the message is delivered matters. Because it matters in how you take the message. I think the American people were taking the message. It wasn't that Trump was lying and Biden was, for the most part, being truthful. I think Biden had a couple of falses from political fact to their account. He had a couple of falses, but everything was mostly true from what I remember. And they fact checked him. But it wasn't that. It was that he was just, he was not there. And I think most of the people, a lot of people talk about, as on Bill Maher, I think he said it, you know, we Americans, we want to be looked at as strong. And we want our president to be strong and looked at it. And that's why, one of the things we talk about, from the past, that when 9/11 happened, the Democrat or the Democrat or Republican, independent, whatever, I think you looked at George Bush as someone that you could really be fond of, for a while there after the 9/11. 2002 to 2003, you looked at him as, yes, that's some, and we looked at that person because he was strong, and he was, and he was presidential, and he was, saying that we were not going to let this harm our, harm us or anything like that. And so, and it was kind of nice to see, even though there was some Democrats that, criticized him because at the time he was reading books to children, and they kind of told him what happened, and he kept continuing to read to children. But I never got that. I never got that. I think because there's a lot of things you could say about George W. Bush, but I don't criticize him for over his presidency. But I think that one is ridiculous. What the hell are you supposed to do? You sit in front of a bunch of children, say stop reading to them, because then they could get upset, and you want to upset the children. So I think that was ridiculous. But anyway, so yeah, so Americans want their president to look strong, and he's looked feeble, and he's looked feeble ever since. And then he had another television thing where poor guy, he called Harris, Vice President Harris, Vice President Trump, and said so many other things. Well, it is just obvious that he was not in the condition to be president anymore. It just wasn't. And then, of course, we had the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, last week, and there's a lot of people who thought about it and said, well, he's going to be president now. The way after he acted after that, things like that, they thought, yeah, well, he's going to be, sure enough, he's going to be president now. And then apparently he spoke at the RNC, and I guess people said, well, maybe not. Not yet. Let's give Joe Biden one more try. And we'll find out more from Joe, and maybe for some political insiders over the next week or two about what really happened. Because we trying to figure out, because they were saying yesterday that Friday, Saturday, he was talking about, staying in ad, and he was getting ready to run ads about, some of the things that Donald Trump has been against, and he can have an abortion ad from one woman, because one of the things that is going to be, talked about is the reproductive rights of women, and that if you have Trump, the women's reproductive rights are not going to be allowed, and they're going to go back, and And Rachel Maddow yesterday, she said some strange things about about Trump's um, vice president candidate J.D. Vance, which I hope she has fact checked in our truth. She talked about some of the things that he believes that uh, you know um, abortion should be off the table anywhere. It should be legal, not just states. You know, um, states' rights. It should be like illegal anywhere. And she was saying that he believes that a woman should not have the right to leave a marriage for any reason, including, you know, you know, um, abuse, and women should not have a right to work and vote, and all of these other things. I mean, he is far redder than Trump apparently. And he was talking about that coincides with Kamala Harris maybe possibly being the Democratic nominee, and of course her being a woman and what she's going to do towards that. So, this has been a very interesting 24 hours in the political world. Um, so we talk about all this, and Joe Biden not being a nominee, endorsing Kamala Harris, and other people have come out and endorsed Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, some of the Democratic governors across the league, but there are a few who have not. Some other major players, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, the Obamas are not coming out and endorsing Kamala Harris for president, and that's not because they may not like Kamala Harris. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Some people were talking about that. Barack Obama he did not come out and endorse Joe Biden until he had the nomination, because he wants to make sure that everybody feels heard. He doesn't want to come out with an early endorsement. He wants to make sure that the stuff goes through. Because listen, the DNC is next month, and now we're gonna have we could possibly have an open DNC. That was talked again yesterday, talking about that Kamala Harris started calling people, and she was, trying to get their support, drum up their support, and a lot of people started coming out for, Kamala Harris. Right after this was made official yesterday. And a couple other things here to read. This is from ABC News. Election 2024 updates. Harris raises $50 million after Biden endorsement. President Biden was under heavy pressure from fellow Democrats to drop out of the race. And he did on Sunday. Came after heavy pressure from congressional Democrats, including Democratic Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and more than 30 House lawmakers. Biden, 81, had resisted calls to step aside and grew almost daily following his poor performance in his June 27 debate with former President Donald Trump and persistent questions about his age and mental fitness. His decision comes just a few months before the November 5th election. Biden backed his Vice President Kamala Harris for the top of the ticket, triggering many others in the party to issue statements backing Harris. Vice President Kamala Harris, who now frontrunner for the Democratic presidential nomination, has a good chance of making this a very close race against former President Donald Trump, former Governor Chris Christie said on Monday. 8 years ago, Trump ran against a woman for president. When he did, Hillary Clinton was a more known quantity and, quite frankly, was disliked by a lot of voters, Christie said on ABC News Good Morning America on Monday. Kamala Harris is not personally disliked. He added, "There is a question of respect and whether they respect her or not, and that's going to be in her control now. If she performs well, she'll make this a very close race." In the hours since President Joe Biden endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris on Sunday, she has collected $49.6 million in grassroots donations, the campaign said. Win-Win Black Women raises $1.5 million for Harris. More than 45,000 people gathered late Sunday on a Zoom call organized by Win-Win Black Women to support Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign. The group said it has raised over $1.5 million in about 100 minutes. The call was led by the group's founder, Jokatika Iadi. If I'm saying that right, I'm sorry. And included lawyer Star Jones, Representative Joyce Beatty, and Siobhan Arlene Bradley, the president and chief executive of the National Council of Negro Women. Such guests as actor Jennifer Lewis and Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority president Donate Anthony Reed chimed in with words of encouragement and wisdom. Even after 1 a.m. on Monday, people continued to try to join the call, and donations kept pouring in. Zoom lifted the capacity limit to allow more people to join the call. "Don't you ever lose faith in Black women," said Dr. Janetta B. Cole, a former president of Spelman College. That's one of the things about this now is that, they have been mentioning that, with Kamala Harris being a woman of color, she's black, she's also South Asian Indian, I believe that's what it is. She's, South Asian Indian. So she's got, that one go ahead and they're talking to her that this is now going to galvanize Black women to now even vote more. One of the things that's what they said. One of the things that that Black women were a major reason that Joe Biden won the election in 2020, because Black women were came out in droves to vote for Joe Biden. Not only because of the Democratic base that they seem to be a part of, but also his vice president was a Black woman, and now with Harris being the candidate, there's some talk that Black women are now going to work their way to try to help her. And in fact, I saw something on Twitter, I think, that even said that one of the things that they're looking to do is, someone said that she is going to choose for Black. She's going to call and campaign anything for Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris only. And I think that is a little bit ridiculous, because even if Kamala Harris does not get the nomination, and she cannot, just because she's on the ticket with Joe Biden, just because Joe Biden has endorsed her, it does not mean that this can happen. Something can happen. Another thing I can read to you really quickly, from a couple things from last night. DNC leaders tell members to expect next steps regarding nomination in coming days. Democratic National Committee Chair Jamie Harrison and Minion Moore, DNC convening chair, sent members a note obtained by ABC News saying guidance on the formal nomination process following President Joe Biden's exit from the race will arrive in the coming days. Quote, "While this situation is unprecedented, the DNC is ready to undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward as a united Democratic Party and select a nominee," they said in their message. "This process will be governed by rules and procedures of our party, and we know that all of you are ready to take your responsibility seriously to swiftly nominate a candidate who will defeat Donald Trump in November. In the coming days, you will hear more from us on the next steps to formally select our nominee. As we move forward, our values and Democrats will remain the same, protecting our basic freedoms, fighting for working families, and saving our democracy from the threat of a dictatorship. The pair said the DNC will honor Biden's legacy with a firm commitment to nominating and electing a Democratic president this November, who will continue the strides he has made as president. As of Friday, Democrats plan to continue the virtual nomination process to ensure that Biden and Harris were on the ballot in all 50 states. This was, of course, before Biden made his announcement on Sunday afternoon. And then Senator says that the DNC Rules Committee to meet Wednesday. The Democratic Committee's next Rules Committee meeting will be at 2 p.m. and it will go to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, July 4th, or Surf tells ABC News. The meeting will be public and available on the DNC's YouTube page. The co-chairs announced Sunday that following the president's decision, it is now your committee's responsibility to implement a framework to select a new nominee, which will be open, transparent, fair, and orderly. The co-chairs announced that the process presented for consideration will be comprehensive and expeditious. Talking about that it will be, having some of the other things. Okay, so the reaction to Joe Biden dropping out has been everything from that I have seen. Everything from thankfulness, gratefulness, calling President Biden a hero for stepping down, to some people who have been just outright joyous, to some who have said, and some on the other side who have said that things are not going to change. Tulsi Gabbard came out with a video that she saying that this is about the deep state and Hillary Clinton. She can bring back Hillary Clinton back into this for some fucking reason. I have no idea why. And then speaking of that, her back in 2020, her taking down of Kamala Harris resurfaced. I don't know, and a lot of people were tweeting and putting on social media that clip of where it looks like Tulsi Gabbard she was knocking down some of the stuff that Kamala Harris has done, and she was maybe quote unquote exposing her to what she has done, as her service time. So I don't know if that's gonna make anything like that. There have been talks for months, that Kamala Harris was not well liked by voters. That they just didn't like her for some reason. That the Democrats liked Joe Biden, but even with all his faults, they didn't like Kamala Harris. And so I'm not sure about that, but there are things now that are in place where she's just like going to be the nominee. But to go back to reactions, I wanted to read for you the reaction from Donald Trump. He reacted to the President Joe Biden withdrawing from the 2024 election, saying his former opponent was not fit to run. Trump listed his statement on Truth Social, writing, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve and never was." He continued, "All those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew that he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't." Trump went on to bring on some of his regular campaign talking points, slamming Biden over the border before adding, "We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly. Make America great again." At the start of his statement, Trump also called Biden the worst president by far in the history of our nation. The former president's campaign immediately began a new fundraising push following Biden's announcement, writing, "But right now, he just quit the race in complete disgrace." House Speaker Mike Johnson wrote on X, "At this unprecedented juncture in American history, we must be clear about what just happened. The Democratic Party forced the Democrat nominee off the ballot just 100 days before the election." He also called for Biden to resign. "If Joe Biden was not fit to run for president, he is not fit to serve as president. He must resign from the office immediately." November 5th cannot arrive soon enough, Johnson posted on X. Senator Josh Hawley quickly reacted to Biden news, calling for the president to step down. "Then resign your office. If you can't run a mere political campaign, you can't be president," he wrote in Biden's statement, in response to Biden's statement. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise wrote on X, "Democrat Party bosses just proved they have the absolute no respect for their own voters. After lecturing others about democracy, they just forced Joe Biden off the ticket, trashing the primary choice of 14 million of their own voters." Senator Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said in a statement, reacting to Biden's announcement, "For 4 years, the American people have faced historic inflation at home, chaos at the border, and weak leadership on the world stage. Our nation is less prosperous and less secure than it was in January 2021. We cannot afford 4 more years of failure." Unfortunately, the Democratic Party has been busy in recent weeks trying to upend the express will of the American people in primary elections across the country. Washington Democrats have not proven themselves any more capable than the president of delivering the secure borders, safe streets, and stable prices that working families deserve. They are selling open border, higher prices, and climate radicalism on soft crime on soft crime policies. The American people are not buying, McConnell's statement concluded. Trump's campaign advisors Chris Civitat and Susie Wiles, on behalf of the former president's campaign, issued a statement slamming Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. "Crooked Joe Biden is a complete fraud and a disgrace to our country," they said in the statement. They continued, "And during the entire time, Kamala Harris, as well as other Democrats in Washington, sat by and did nothing. They are all just as complicit as Biden in the destruction of our once great nation. They must all be thrown out of office." They also questioned Biden staying in office following his decision not to run. The question then to Kamala Harris is simple. Knowing that Joe Biden withdrew from the campaign because of his rapidly deteriorating condition, does Harris believe the American people are safe and secure with Joe Biden in the White House for 6 more months? I don't want to read anymore. Okay, so this is more about Vice President, more about President Biden's decision to step down. Okay, so that's the side of the Republicans, right? I would say is they make some type of point, like if well, again, we'll find out why. I think we'll find out again from hopefully from Joe Biden's own voice later in the week, and also from the the political insiders. We'll find out more information of why did Joe Biden, resign. Did he really come to this conclusion himself? Because there was a lot of talk yesterday that where he just kind of said yes, he was so gung ho about staying in the race. Then all of a sudden he started to talk to people and he started to tell them, and he had a decision, and he went to bed Saturday night to sleep on it, and he woke up Sunday morning saying that he needed to come out of the race. So, and if this is a sign of he's like he's not in a good enough state to be to run a campaign, is he in good enough state to be the president, even if it is for just another 6 months until January. Is he still, and I guess you could say, well, even if he isn't, it is 6 months, so Kamala can, she can, be president, while Joe is, she can make decisions for the president, so that doesn't make it doesn't really mean anything, but it is something there because 6 months is a lot. You never know what could happen in 6 months. You never know. With us, on our country, United States, and our allies, countries, something could happen. Anything. You never know. And you're gonna need somebody to make the hard decisions that need to be made. Right? So there's a lot going on there. We've talked a lot about Kamala Harris. Right now, the number one trend on Twitter is hashtag Kamala 2024. And they have some other things. They do have some other things trending. Joe Manchin is trending because apparently now he is now thinking about coming back to the Democratic Party. Apparently he was a Democrat, and I've forgotten this. Apparently, I guess he was a Democrat. He went and became an independent, and I was thinking about coming back to the Democratic Party to become and possibly run for president. Hillary is trending, obviously. Other things I guess it's a lot of things because they're talking about the thing. I guess those a lot of things. Once again, the video with Tulsi Gabbard talking about her in the deep state. I have no idea what the hell that is. Pete is trending, and I'm guessing this is because Pete Buttigieg, who ironically was just on, was just on, Bill Maher this past Friday, and this is as well because Bill Maher went on his summer break. He stayed 2 weeks later than he normally would because he wanted to do the RNC, and now this is happening. So I wonder if he'll break his thing and come back and do a show this Friday. But yeah, I guess they're talking about Pete Buttigieg because he's gonna he could be maybe a vice presidential candidate. Democrat Shapiro is trending. Shapiro as a governor. Josh Shapiro, is it? Yeah, Josh Shapiro. He's a Democratic governor of Pennsylvania. He could be on. He could be on. On the candidate of possible running mates for Kamala
We like Governor Shapiro. Give him a look. Also,
if she gets the ticket, really quickly, Governor Roy Cooper, who was the governor of North Carolina, Josh Shapiro, like you just mentioned, governor of Philadelphia, the Senator Mark Kelly, there's Governor Andy Beshear, I think he's the governor of Kentucky, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, and my governor, J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois. I think I heard something yesterday that Governor Whitmer actually doesn't want. She wants to be state governor of Michigan. She doesn't want to be like a vice president or a president. Although they could easily convince her, to I think it was like maybe have convinced Joe Biden and step up and be to have an all-female ticket. So that'd be very interesting. That's why Shapiro is trending, and a lot of other. We just talked about Mark Kelly. He's trending as well. Some Senator Mark Kelly is okay, so he's a Navy veteran. He's in Desert Storm, 39 combat missions. I guess he's a senator. I guess he's a senator in Arizona. Uh, or uh, he's the wife. He's the husband of Gabby Gifford, who survived being shot by a gunman. You know, in that that tragedy about several years ago. Um, so there's that. So yeah, he's a senator. She's a senator in Arizona. Maybe he took over her seat. As sometimes that happens. Michelle Obama is trending. There are people who are ridiculously want Michelle Obama to just come out of nowhere and for her to be the president. And this is the ridiculous one because it's just about her being a black woman. That's the only reason why they said Michelle Obama. It's just, she's a black woman, and that's ridiculous. It's like saying, let's come on, like Oprah. Like when they wanted Oprah to run for president, when they wanted Oprah to run for president because she was just a black woman. It's ridiculous. Um, hashtag Win with Black Women is trending. We just talked about that. You know, we read in the other one, reading the other article and talking about the campaign has been helped by the women, black women people. They have decided to 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 do that, and they have um uh and they were on a Zoom call so that they could start getting money up for Kamala Harris. So that's why that's trending, and a lot of other stuff, more stuff that you would hope would be trending and things like that. So then that's not having to do with the this historic announcement, but it's just the stuff that is there. Um, so let's go to two more things, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this. So some of you may be wondering what happens uh, to the campaign funds because he dropped out, right? And um, you may have given him money or for his campaign. So what happened to those? So let's talk about it. The Biden-Harris campaign cash stash stands at about 91 million, and according to its most recent filings, combined with allied Democratic organizations, the re-election effort has access to about $240 million. Can Vice President Harris take over the campaign cash? Yes, with some caveats. Kenneth Gross, senior political law counsel at Aiken Gump and former associate general counsel for the Federation Election Commission, told the Associated Press that since their campaign accounts were registered with the Federal Election Commission in the names of both candidates, Harris could use those funds for her own presidential effort if Biden were to drop out. Can donors get refunded? Possibly. The campaign would have to agree to release the funds back to donors. It wouldn't be an automatic refund, according to legal scholars. What if neither Biden or Harris is the nominee? The Biden-Harris campaign would need to return almost all of the money if the Democrats nominate someone other than Harris. Party accounts could still benefit from the nominee, but the Biden-Harris account would have more restrictions. For example, legal experts say it could become an independent expert political action committee, but not simply transfer its balance to a different nominee. Any donations for the primary, which Biden won, would not be refunded, and this principle could apply to any money collected under the Democratic National Convention in August. Now that Biden has bowed out, the former campaign would be allowed to transfer $2,000 of the money collected to the new candidate, according to Bradley A. Smith, a professor at a Capital Law University school in Ohio. So basically, if you are one of these people where you were riding with Biden, so to speak, but you wasn't really a Kamala Harris fan, and you're not, and you donated to the Biden-Harris campaign, you could get your money. You could get your money back, but that would depend on Biden or Harris neither one of them being the Democratic nominee. So that is that. So if you were maybe wondering about that, that's how it goes. I'm reading this off of Fox 32 Chicago. You can probably just search for the title. The title of the article is "After Biden drops out, what happens to his campaign funds?" You can talk about that. Um, yeah, you can search for that and it'll come up. So it might be some more stuff as well that might come up. So if you want more information about that, you can search that. And then finally, um, how about some other candidates for the nominee? Sure, Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and many Democrats have endorsed Kamala Harris for president. And we've heard that she has been calling around. Uh, there have been organizations that have been raising money for Kamala Harris. But what if she doesn't get the nomination, right? What if somehow, some way, she doesn't get the nomination and it goes to someone else, right? So this this is from Forbes. It says these are the likely Democratic presidential candidates as Biden drops out. So let's read this really quick if we can. President Joe Biden chose not to seek re-election Sunday, an unprecedented move after more than 3 weeks of pressure from top Democrats. And there's an update about here's why she is the almost the inevitable Democratic nominee. So maybe we'll read that after this one. So we're gonna so yeah. Let's see. Okay, so let's talk about this. So here are some of the ones. Kamala Harris is the most obvious de facto pick for a Biden replacement on the general election ticket, as her national name recognition gives her an advantage over other potential Biden replacements who would have to work expeditiously to familiarize voters in a Trump candidate campaign. She could also seemingly begin using Biden campaign cash since she's already on the ticket. We just talked about that. California Governor Gavin Newsom's political activity, including his support for Democrats in the elections outside of California, prompted rumors last year that he was running a shadow campaign for the White House. Other Democratic governors who have elevated their national profiles: Illinois Governor Jimmy Pritzker, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Colorado Governor Jared Polis, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, all also regularly listed as potential Biden alternatives, especially after all four won gubernatorial races by double digits in 2022. An advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders, who is a year older than Biden, said in a 2020 memo he hadn't ruled out a run for president in 2024 in the event of an open primary. Sanders previously urged Democrats to stop bickering and nitpicking of Biden in a July 13 New York Times op-ed. And see, this is the thing that because there were some people about that. Then there was some they made memes. They were doing all of the wrestling stuff, but Bernie Sanders cashing in the money in the bank contract or whatever, which is actually kind of funny. But if you are seriously thinking that after we have just done with an 81-year-old person, and you're gonna have somebody who is also the same age, he may even be a year older. He may be 82, a year older than Bernie Sanders. And we even don't think, that he's not going to have problems, or he's not going to call people out his names or anything like that. That's just ridiculous. Bernie Sanders should not even be thought of as a candidate. Former Democratic presidential candidate and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Senators Cory Booker of New Jersey and Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota are also names that I floated out to replace Biden, and he expressed his desire not to run. Democratic primary contender Dean Phillips in Minnesota. He ran against Biden in the 2024 primary, but he received little support before dropping out. Yeah, I didn't even know he had even won. So that was just ridiculous. And then the third party idiots who are just, Kennedy, RFK Jr. and Cornel West, uh, two absolute nimrods. Uh, uh, ain't gonna be even thought of. They're gonna do more harm to the Democratic Party than than good. So what else? Okay, so really quick, they were saying there was an update on why here's why Kamala Harris is almost certain to be the vice president. So let's see if we can. What is it? Okay, so how will Harris become the Democratic nominee? As the winner of the Democratic primary, Biden was set to receive the nomination for president at the DNC set for August 29th to 22nd. Of the nearly 4,700 delegates set to vote at the convention, more than 3,800 have pledged to vote for Biden as a nominee. There are no current Democratic Party rules that allow Biden to pass his votes on to another candidate, according to PBS, but his endorsement will likely hold power. And with Biden's endorsement, it is likely enough delegates fall in line and choose Harris as the nominee. Dozens of current and former delegates on Sunday signed a letter endorsing Harris, Politico reported. What will happen at the Democratic National Convention? It's still unclear. Some Democrats have said they prefer an open convention, which will allow their delegates to vote for whomever they like, but other ideas have been floated inside a mini primary process of debates, to public appearances, and town halls before the convention to introduce potential candidates to delegates, an option that became less. Jesus Christ, what the hell are you moving? An option that became less likely when Biden endorsed a successor, or a brokered convention, in which delegates choose a nominee based on backroom deals brokered by local and state party bosses along the elected officials. Biden's endorsement is likely to stop any Democratic players from challenging Harris for the nomination. Okay, so. Okay. Surprising fact. I like this one. Trump has personally donated money to Harris twice. Back when she was the Attorney General for California, he gave a total of $6,000 across two different donations. The Washington Post reported years ago when Trump University was facing a class action lawsuit from students in California who said they had been defrauded by the institution. Trump's daughter Ivanka also gave 2000 in 2014. The Attorney General's office did not take action against Trump University while Harris held the position. That's kind of interesting and funny, don't you think? Woo. Yeah. So, um, so that's why she's looking to be the nominees. The nominee. Look like it's not anywhere else. It's probably going to be her. Unless another strange things happen over the next, 3 weeks before the Democratic convention. Now, what do I think, right? What do I think about this? And my opinions here. I am a Democrat. I have no qualms of saying that. I have no qualms of saying that, of telling people to vote Democrat. If if you are a never Trump Republican, if you are an independent, and of course if you are a Democrat, you vote Democrat. You vote whoever the Democratic nominee is, whether you like them or not. If Joe Biden decided to stay in the race, I was going to vote for Joe Biden because the threat of Trump and what he could do not only to democracy but to other things. If you even like I don't read. I just don't read, and that's just something I don't do. But I let other people do it for me and then regurgitate it to me back in small doses. If you read anything about the Project 2025 that that he has been linked to, then you will you, you will know that there's no way that this guy can be president. And we've already have a Supreme Court justice that, you know, the Supreme Court, not Supreme Court, but Supreme Court has said that that you know in some form or fashion the president has some type of immunity to do something. And then whether that's what some people were saying, where he can, take out his opponents, for things or anything like that, and not be tried, or that he has immunity from it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Again, I don't read things. I let other people read them and tell me what they are, and maybe I shouldn't do that. But I'm also not gonna take my good time to read some 100-page thing or something like that about what it is. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm sorry. But there's a lot of things, those, admittedly, those 4 years from 2016 to 2020, while during those 4 years, a lot of things happened that yeah, you didn't want to happen, including the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a Supreme Court justice, and then another Supreme Court justice stepping down, and him nominating 2 others who were, and making the Supreme Court a 6 conservative, 3 liberal justice court. That wasn't happy. That wasn't fun. And he was in part of the, of the other thing about COVID, in which he didn't want to, do the things that needed to be done to keep the country safe, and the millions of people that we lost due to COVID, because his inaction was slow, and he was telling people to take ivermectin and believing those things just because it was coming from a Democratic place. The Democrats were telling people to, do the right things to try to curb the pandemic, so he didn't want to do those things or whatever. But so yeah, I am fully down for this Kamala Harris to be president. I am fully down for any Democrat to run for president, as should anybody else. Again, this is, to me, this is just not, it's not an answer. Whether you like Harris or not, whether you like Biden or not, whoever you like or not, there is, it's about, this is truly about our democracy. This is truly is. Because Trump could easily, as things have happened now, Trump could easily turn this around. And a lot of people are going to say, nah, you just talk. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. Well, listen. Go ahead then. But then in 2028, when there is no election, which he has named himself, if you remember, if you play football, street ball football, it's full-time quarterback. Where he quarterback for both teams, when they had either number of people, and then the odd guy would just be the quarterback, and he'd be the quarterback for both teams. When he does that, and he becomes full-time, all-time president, all-time president, or he makes some type of ridiculous thing where presidents are voted on until they pass away or retire, just like Supreme Court justices. And you're leaving like, what? Really? That's not supposed to be? So, listen, this is a simple case for me. I'm voting Democrat in November, and I hope that you all out there will vote for the Democrat in November. You know, there's a lot of people out there saying, myself included, you know, anybody but those two, right? Anybody but those two. But you got somebody else now. You have somebody who is not those two. Somebody from who's going to be a part of the original two-party. Go out November 5th, on Tuesday, November 5th, and vote for the Democratic candidate. Now, have that all being said, there's still a part of me that believes Trump has this in the bag. You know, just from what the three people have talked about, you know, how they felt that Biden wasn't getting things done, and one of the things that Biden was, and things like that. Now, some people have felt, and it seemed like over like the past year, more and more people of color who have been kind of the base of the Democratic Party are now seemingly just going over and being Republican and going to Trump. And I think there's a lot of things for that happening. You know, you may remember like several months ago, you know, Lawrence Taylor all of a sudden was on stage with Donald Trump, saying he had left the Democrats and going to the thing. And then there was Amber Rose, who, you know, she spoke after the Democratic nominee, talking about how she went from Democrat to Republican, and all of this is happening. And so there's a part of me that still feels like that this is still, you know, that this is still happening. That, you know, that a Trump presidency is still happening. There were some polls that showed, you know, last night that you know, you know, with the margin of error being whatever it was, that it was still like Donald Trump was like 49%, and Kamala Harris was 47%. With that margin of error being whatever it was, that, you know, whoever was the people who wanted to vote. So Trump presidency could still be on the way, but I think if you are many Americans, at least you have hope, because it just didn't feel. It felt like it was automatic with Joe Biden. You know, the Trump presidency was automatic with Joe Biden. But maybe now, with the possibility that Kamala Harris or some other Democrat being the nominee, maybe there's some other hope here. And I think that's all that you want. You want to have hope, especially when you're talking about somebody like Donald Trump, who seems like he is ready to start his dictatorship and is going to bring on some ridiculously incredible things that are, you know, to this country. And yeah, that could really be it. But yeah, there you have it. I have no idea how long I talked for. Over an hour. Over an hour. And to be honest with you, I will apologize, because if you sat here for this hour, at least if you sat here on YouTube and you've watched this video, one thing has happened. I've gotten darker and darker, and you've not seen me. You've probably been watching the TV in the background more than you have watched me. It's again where I have this set up. But I can't change it really, because it's just the way it is. Maybe I could do something and have the TV come on this wall, but, you know, and that one, but then I wouldn't have that light. I don't know. It's whatever. It's a real thing. I guess I have to do videos at certain times on certain days, because otherwise I won't get I'll have the dark, and the light, doesn't, you know, light up as it should be, you know, the way it is. So it's a whole bunch of other things. So I apologize about that. And I also apologize on the fact that I got up earlier than I normally get up, so I can do this video because I've got other things I got to do today. Excuse me, other things I have to do today to, try and do this. So now I was trying to do these videos before a certain time because, then I could have the rest of the day to do what I need to do and other things like that. And I couldn't do this video or this podcast yesterday, because I was live streaming on Twitch, and when it broke, when at least when I saw the news, I was doing my social media promotion for my live stream, and I saw that Joe Biden had dropped out. So I did a quick video thing that you may have seen or you may not have seen, but otherwise it's so. And so so it just seems like kind of low energy or all over the place. That's one of the things about me that it is. It's just chaotic. My videos, my podcasts, all these things are sometimes chaotic. I can go anywhere, I can ramble on, anything like that. But I think that's what makes me unique, because that does happen. And for the most part, I do get to my point. So, but I did just want to apologize because of that. So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to this on the through the podcast, then you had no issues with any of the visual stuff. You probably may have some audio stuff, but that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, yeah. So just to reiterate really quickly, Kamala Harris looks to be the new Democratic nominee as Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race yesterday afternoon. Post your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know down in the comment section. I am someone, when it comes to my comment section, I will, for the most part, I'm not one of those ones that I heavily, edit comments or delete comments or anything like that. I let you say what you want to say for the most part. But I know that this is a political thing, and all of this stuff has happened, and this is, when it comes to politics, it can be nasty, something like that. So I'm just gonna say this: if you disagree, you can disagree, and that's fine. You can speak your case or anything like that. But if you start going into, you start getting personal with the other, getting personal with me, you start getting, if you start spouting off lies or untruths or just ridiculousness, yes, I will delete your comment and I will block you from the thing, because I don't want to do that, but I am not gonna have you sit up here and say that call Joe Biden a child molester, because he's not. But just because you think that he has in the past, like, done creepy things with children or something like that, and somebody, I remember that years ago, probably during the 2020 election, somebody who I had a great respect for was out touting that thing that that Joe Biden was like having kids, something like that, some that bullshit. I immediately blocked them, and it was because I really, I kind of respect them in some sort of way, and I knew they had that kind of conservative opinion, but I was willing to look past that. I'm always willing to look past it because that's your opinion. If you're on that side of the house, you just don't side that out. But once you start fighting into the buying harmless kids or anything like that, and I have to block you, and I have to. So, and I will do that in the comment section as well. So that is just that. So again, put your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know down in the comment section how you feel. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on my podcast, once again, I appreciate that. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go into the whole shtick about anything like that. Check the others. What I say is, check the description box. If there anything that you liked about this YouTube video or this this podcast, check the description box. There's everything there from Patreon to other things like that. You can go ahead and check it out and do all those things. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you guys for watching, and thank the podcasters for listening. This is your boy, AJTRIP, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.